and welcome to Sim.bc, where right now it's 1944, so it's, not the year, but the time, and it's really, really late. Why? Well, because today I spent one of the longest days as of yet this semester in school. I know, at that university. Do you know what I did? Some people, they go to university and then discuss all manners of different things, and I just realized, wait a second. There we go. And they discuss all manners of different things, all from how can we solve all of the diplomatic crisis in the world? How can we solve hunger? How can we save people? Yeah? How can we bring up society as a whole? And how can we just create new infrastructure that creates job opportunities, that creates new ways of thinking, that creates new ways of living in this society of ours? Do you know what I did? I went to school at 10 in the morning, yeah? And I watched a bunch of numbers from 10 a.m. to about 6:30 p.m. Was it worth it? In my opinion, hell to the yeah. It was one of the funniest days I've had in school, like, ever. But you're also talking about the guy who this evening, or this very early morning, like 3 in the morning, just thought that, hey, do you know what would be a great idea? Instead of actually going to sleep and go up early in the morning, I should, and get a fair amount of sleep. I should instead, try to look into some of the statistics that I, came up with as I was going to sleep. Yet again, talking about that, that time when before you go to sleep, but you're not really asleep, but your brain is going at 110 kilometers an hour, and you're just being, this is a good idea, 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 and you just like lay there and think about those and you can't sleep. Now, you're talking about the guy who actually acted on those things and woke up or went up, grabbed my computer, grabbed my statistics book that I have here, and I just basically sat down and did statistics for 2 hours in the middle of the night. Is that healthy? Some might argue that no, it's not. It's really not. You should seek active and professional help. I'd say, well, that's just a commitment to what I do, right? I have a passion for the numbers. So I was sitting in school for like 8.5 hours today, which I didn't think was that big of a problem. I mean, sure, I was a bit tired because I woke up early, even though I didn't really sleep that well, and I was working out yesterday. But all in all, it was kind of a fun day. Did lots of statistical analysis, did lots of t-tests, p-values, looking at those different statistics, chi-square test, chi-square test. We did all manners of different tests. And I know all of you who are out there who is like taking a PhD in statistics, or a master for that matter, you're probably sitting there being like, t-test and p-value? Do you still use those? And I'm like, yes, at this point I am anyway, but I know that there are other absurd ways of doing inferential statistics as well, but I was mainly looking at regression analysis, which I thought was amazing because I'm working with the if equations in Excel, which make it so much more interesting and easy to implement data into SPSS, which we do use for our statistical analysis at this point in time. Now, that was a long introduction that might not have been that enjoyable for the most of you, yeah? Most of you people are sitting there being like, wow, statistics, I can't handle this. I mean, I go to school, I do all of these amazing things that's gonna change the world, and then I come home, watch YouTube. Why? Well, because I want to get away from it all. I want to get away from my real life, and I want to deep dive into something that I deem to be interesting. And here you are, finding your favorite entertainment from your favorite community person on the internet, talking about inferential and descriptive statistics. I know, some of the most interesting things in the world, but that's basically just what I've done doing this entire day. And by the way, if you didn't like that, you probably need to shut off the video right now. I'm just gonna say that what I'm going to talk about coming forward might not be so much technical terms, but it's probably going to follow the line of, statistics at least for a while. So do keep that in mind. Whew. And another thing that was kind of amazing this day, sorry, I thought I saw a spider. I was about to get a heart attack there, yeah? Just, stuff on the ground. Another fun thing that happened was that, you realize that you're getting older, and I'm like 22, so I'm not old in any sense of the imagination, right? I'm not old, I'm young, I feel young, but what I did realize today was that, one of those things that stood the test of time and shows you that, wow, there has been a couple of years since you started high school. And one of those things were that, well, for once, next month, we're probably taking our graduation from university. So that's the thing. Another thing was that, well, on Facebook it told me, and we're gonna segue into more about Facebook later, was that a company of ours that we started in our first year of high school actually turned 5 years today. And we had a Facebook page that was like saying, wow, it's 5 years today, because I do believe that we created it as a like a person's profile and not as a group or an event or anything like that. Or a group page, which was a bit of a weird choice, I might add, because we can't actually add people because we've lost the login information, so it's actually just a dead account, you know, when you get down to it. But it's kind of cool, yeah, it's kind of out there still, so it's kind of funny. So every year we kind of say congratulations on our company, and today it turned like, I don't even remember, was it 5 or was it 6 years? Something like that. It was 5 or 6 years old, and I was just like, wow, that was 5 or 6 years ago. That was my first year of, like, my junior year of high school, my fresh year of high school. And now I'm a senior at university and probably gonna graduate in a while. Hopefully, fingers crossed, yeah. But I know I've been stumbling on for long enough for a very long while, both about statistics, because I do like that stuff, and about my company that I did, you know, years upon years ago, right? And what are we going to talk about today? And I might add that I'm on the same page as you. What are we going to talk about today? Because I came up with like 6 to 8 different topics that I do wanted to take up, but I realized that they were kind of heavy, and we have been tackling some, you know, terms and some titles and some factors that has been quite heavy over the last couple of days here. So I thought, why not have a bit of an easy discussion going on today? And what I was thinking about was that you can actually download all of your information from Facebook, since we were talking about Facebook's and statistics. And what do you get if you download your information from Facebook? Well, you get a whole lot of statistics, or rather you get a whole lot of data. So part of my day, and part of my day yesterday, was all about going through this information, trying to come up with the regression analysis, trying to see what pages do I look for, how often am I, well, online, and how often am I current, and how often is my timeline updated based on different dates, based on different criteria, like different holidays and so on and so forth, based on different years. Because what is really interesting is that, and I will try to pick this up on the screen so that you can see it, probably ain't gonna fill out the entire screen because that's gonna be really pixelated, but you catch my drift. There is a little, like a small arrow in the top right corner of your screen, and if you Google this, you can find a step-by-step, way of accessing this information, because Facebook is really clear about, well, they want you to be able to access your information, which I do think is really good. And when I accessed it, as far as I can tell, I accessed a whole lot of information, so that's probably all that Facebook has on me, which it was like a 1.5 gigabyte of zip. In a zip file format, which basically is like encrypted format that condenses it a lot, as far as I understand, which you then decrypt as you get into your computer, and you will actually have access to all the information, just so that you don't have to download all of the gigabytes upon gigabytes upon gigabytes upon gigabytes of data. So 1.5 gigabytes of zip is, as a zip file, is still a whole lot of data. Anyway, so I downloaded all of that information to my computer, and I was able to access, all of the different pictures that I'd sent through Messenger, all of the different pictures that I'd received through Messenger, and all of the different things that I had done through Facebook, or that in any form or fashion was connected to Facebook. Something else that I could see was the different criteria on which I had left likes on, for instance, if I'd liked the page, if I'd liked the topic, which was kind of interesting, because when I was looking through it, right, it was kind of intuitive, at least in my opinion, to look through and actually see all of these things that you liked, because it kind of presents it in a very structural manner, or at least in comparison to other databases that you can access out there. This was highly structured, in my opinion. Might be the case that they're showing off stuff really easily that they want you to know about, and that they're kind of quote unquote hiding it in plain sight, the like stuff that you probably wouldn't be that happy about them having. That could be the case, but I was looking through, I was doing some inferential statistics, applied that to some samples of the information, obviously not the entire population of information, because that was a lot, but I looked through some of it, and it was kind of interesting. Apparently, I am very active on Facebook around summer in comparison to winter. And if I would to state a hypothesis, I would say it's the other way around, because it's cold outside in the winter, so I would technically, in my opinion, be more inclined to be active on Facebook simultaneously, in conjunction with that I'm actually home in my hometown over winter, or generally I am, so I'm really connecting with all the people down there on Facebook. But no, it was actually the other way around. When it was summer and it's a nice weather outside, you tend to connect with people, or I tended to connect with people a whole lot more and was a whole lot more active, or at least based on my timeline, disregarding my birthday, for instance, that just happened to coincide in the winter's month, so that's a whole lot of information that was taken away there. But it was kind of interesting to go in and look at it, and what you can also see is the different kinds of advertising companies that had access to your information, or if they didn't have access to your information because it wasn't explicitly said, they were able to access you, but they weren't able to access you, but Facebook accesses you for them. So they're basically saying that, well, if a company comes along to Facebook, as far as I understood it, right, based on the 7 hours that I spent watching Mark Zuckerberg's testimony, based on the things that I've read about Facebook over the years, and based on the information that I found, since it wasn't explicitly said otherwise, I think that the way that this information was presented is that you can find, for instance, advertisers. If you go to, I don't really remember what category it was, but it's on the left hand side when you go to actually download page, which you do on the internet, and you can find a whole lot of things. And you can find your advertisers. It's grouped together in with, or not grouped together, but it's there together with the different topics that you have liked on Facebook, if you find that, which is yet again kind of easy to get to once you get in there and once you get into it. But as I understood it, that was basically Facebook saying, if a company comes to Facebook and says that, hey, we want to have the access and the information to these kind of people who like skiing, for instance. Now, Facebook can give these companies all the public information, like all the information that you've made public that they want to, in conjunction, for a monetary compensation, that they do share this information with the company or with the advertising company. However, all of the information that you haven't made public, but that Facebook do know about, because, well, you're on their site. Spoiler alert, but that's kind of what they tend to do, I assume, right? Yet again, my interpretation of the entire events that has transpired. They can be the middle hand between the company and you. So they can basically say that if you give us this amount of money, we can make sure that these ads will be displayed at people who, for instance, then, as they use as an example during the testimony, people who like skiing. Because since we can't give you the information, since they haven't made it public, that's personal information, we can't give it directly to you. Because they have stated, the different individuals have stated that they do not want to show that. However, we know who they are, so we can take your ads and we can display them for you to the people who do like skiing. And I'm sure that this is a very viable business model, since, well, Facebook isn't running out of cash anytime soon, or at least it doesn't seem like it, even though the testimony and what did you say, and being in the Supreme Court was, I understood, the House of Commerce, perhaps. Even though those things has happened, as some of my friends have said, it's a major PR crisis and a scandal. Once I'm saying, it's good that he actually went there by his own free will. It could have been much worse, but perhaps that is up to interpretation. So based on all these things, it still doesn't look like Facebook is running out of cash, which means that this is probably a fairly viable operation, or a fairly viable business plan. Something else that I would like to take up, based on the information and based on some of the things that they said, was that during the hearing, and I know that I'm connecting this to the hearing as we talked about yesterday, was that they were talking a lot about what is your information, yeah? Because some of the people in court, some of the chairmen and chairwomen would like to forward the idea or the regulation that there is some form of follow-up on, well, if I'm sharing my information online, or rather if I'm presenting my information online. I'm not sharing it, I'm presenting my information online. I should be the one who owns that information online. And if that isn't followed, if somebody misuses it or abuses it, well, then it should technically be followed up in some form or way, based on some form of regulation that the government has put forward. Something that's equal for everybody, no matter who they are, right? Which I thought was rather interesting. However, as I understood it, yet again, context, my opinion, my perception of, and my perspective of the events, was that Mark Zuckerberg said that, or he had a bit of a different opinion about that, because it was saying that, sure, if I put out the picture, that's me publicly making something public because I'm sharing it online. That's the entire idea of Facebook, right? That you are uploading information, but you're simultaneously sharing this information, right? Because if you only upload it and you only make it so that you can view it, sure, you upload it, and that's probably only you who can access it, and you don't share it with anyone, but yet again, nobody can see it, so why would you do that? Why not just have it on your computer? Now, the main reason why people actually upload pictures to Facebook, now I don't have any concrete evidence for this, but I can assume that this is like 99% true, or even more than that, like 99.999% true, is that people are uploading pictures to Facebook so that they can share them with either close friends, friends, or make them public. And based on all of the information, or based on the settings that I do have, and I have the option to, every time I published something, I had the option to, show off who would I like to share this with. Would I like to make public? Would I like to share with my friends, or just my close friends, or their friends, or whatever? So I have had the option to do that all of the time. But something that you don't really realize, and something that the court was also pointing at, was that, well, sure, if you are putting out your information and you're sharing that information with others, that's also making, or according to Zuckerberg then, that also makes the people that you share this information with, that makes them their information too, because you've shared this information with them, so now it's their information too. And what the court was basically saying is that, well, you should have some strict and clear-cut privacy laws, right, or privacy settings that is presented. And then according to Zuckerberg, he said that, well, all of these settings are there to create a context for when you're actually publishing something. So for instance, when you publish a photo, the context is there. You are publishing this photo at this time, and now you can choose who you're actually going to, well, share this information with. However, even though that is true, looking at the bigger picture, when you did something like I did and actually did go through with downloading all of the information from Facebook, there is a substantial amount of information about you that I probably have made public without even having a second thought at the time, but now when I'm reviewing it, it looks like, maybe I shouldn't have done some of those things. And that is connected to that you are growing as a person, you're seeing different things that you did in the past, you say that, wow, I don't stand for those kinds of values anymore, I don't stand for those kinds of behaviors anymore, that might be illegal now, that might not be something that I would like to be associated with anymore, all of these different things. And it's very hard to, in retrospect, right, go back and take all of these things away. Now, technically it is easy because you only have to go there and click remove, and it should be removed from the site altogether. However, you actually need to do that, and you actually need to go there preemptively to find the things that you do not disagree with, or that you do not agree with anymore. And I come to, well, and that is kind of connecting it to the entire idea of downloading all this information. Because whilst it's funny for me, right, I deem it to be really interesting to all of this information accessible to you, and that all other people do as well. It's kind of interesting to see that Mark Zuckerberg is pushing the idea that, well, you should be able to see the context of when you're publishing something. Or rather, the context in which where you publish something, that is where the privacy settings should be placed. However, I would like to see something after this where you could go in and, in retrospect, or rather when I, perhaps an option, right, that when I'm publishing a new photo, I can see what other kinds of photo have I been publishing with this kind of criteria, or maybe something along those lines. Now I understand, and I totally get that there is going to be a trade-off between the technicality of the app and the usage and how privacy works. So for instance, and how much appeal it is to it actually. So privacy and technicalities on one hand, and the user friendliness on the other. If you take it too far and you say like, wow, I really want all this information to be in your hands, you're going to say exactly how private it is, it might take away some of the user-friendly functionality, which might make the app less appealing, which obviously isn't the case of or isn't the intention of the app users either, and of the CEO either. They were, or the company rather. It would be unfair to say that the CEO speaks for the entire company, even though he does. There are many things that happens in the company that he probably doesn't have any power over, since there are so many decisions being made every day on a daily basis. Oh wow, that was kind of an interesting discussion going into the last bit there. I wish I would have peeled that onion a bit earlier actually, because there are so many things I want to talk about when it comes to information sharing and the perspective that you have there. Anyway, I'm running out of time as of again. Wow, even though I want to make a clear-cut short video, but here we are. See you tomorrow, mates, and we'll probably might discuss this further because this was kind of interesting. Otherwise, I have a million different topics that I do want to cover. See you, mates.